Section 63A of the Transfer Property Act, which is with the improvements to immovable property. That is, improvements can be when the mortgager mortgages the property to the mortgagee if there is any necessary. That is, the mortgagee can make the improvements to the mortgage property. Later, the mortgagee can claim the amount for the improvements which he has made. At that time, it is the mortgager is entitled to pay the amount for the improvements which is made by the mortgagee. Here, where the mortgage property is in the possession of the mortgagee during the continuance of the mortgage, at the time if the mortgagee has made any improvements, the mortgager, when he redeems back the property from the mortgagee is also entitled to the improvements that has been made by the mortgagee, and mortgager shall be liable to pay the cost of the improvements which has been made by the mortgagee. Here, let us see improvements by the mortgagee in the following circumstances only. Under only these circumstances where the mortgagee can make the improvements in the mortgaged property, and he can claim back the amount for the improvements which has been made by the mortgager. Only under these circumstances he can make the improvements. Let us see which are the circumstances under which he can make the improvements. The first circumstance is necessary. There is a necessity to preserve the property from destruction. Where the property is going to get destroyed, at that time it is the duty of the mortgagee to protect it, to preserve the property. It is one of the necessity of the mortgagee to make certain improvements for the preserving of the property from its destruction. Second point, necessary to preserve the security from becoming insufficient. The second necessity of the mortgagee is to prevent the security from being insufficient. Or third is was made in compliance with the lawful order of a public servant. Where the public officer or the public servant has made any order to make such improvements, at that time also it is the duty of the mortgagee who is having the portion of the property, it has to make the improvements of the mortgaged property. That is, was made in compliance with the lawful order. When the public servant, he makes an order to the mortgagee to make certain improvements, at the time it is the duty of the mortgagee to make the improvement. Here it says that before doing any improvements, when the possession is with the mortgagee, he has to make the improvements from protecting the property from destruction or from the insufficient, or he has to comply with the order of the public servant. This is the duty of the mortgagee. And before doing these improvements to the mortgaged property, here the mortgagee has certain duty. Here mortgagee has to bring the matter to the notice of the mortgager. When there is any improvements to be made, it is when the mortgaged property is in the possession of the mortgagee, at that time it is the duty of the mortgager to inform, to give the notice about the improvements to the mortgager. Even then, the mortgager fails to take any action after giving the notice to the mortgager also, mortgager does not take any action, then mortgagee can spend and the reasonable amount of money for the improvements of the mortgage property, and then the mortgagee can claim back the cost from the mortgager. Here the mortgager has the duty to clear all the expenses to the mortgagee along with the 9% of interest. This is the duty of the mortgager to pay the car when he's taking back the property from the mortgagee. He has to pay back the he has to pay the cost for the improvements which has been made by the mortgagee along with the interest he has to pay. Here for section 63A, that is the improvements to immovable property, let me give you one illustration here. He mortgaged a building which is adjacent to the footpath. Where he mortgages certain building which is that building is near to the footpath only, it's adjacent to the footpath. And here A, that is a mortgager, he mortgages that building for a period of 10 years and it is for 10 lakhs rupees he mortgages that property. He mortgages the building. After 1 year of the mortgaging, after 1 year of mortgage, the chunks of the building started falling. The chunks of the building started falling on the pedestrian, the persons who walks on the footpath. On them, there is a chunks of the building started falling on them. Here, mortgagee informed to the mortgager, and then the mortgagee carried on the repairs by spending 1 lakh rupees. Mortgagee has made the repairs by spending 1 lakh rupees, and this is the lawful improvement which is made by the mortgagee. Here before that, is the municipal authority has given the notice to the mortgagee to carry on the repairs. That is a public servant. Municipal authority has given the notice to the mortgagee to make the repairs. And whatever the improvements in this illustration, whatever the improvements which is made by the mortgagee under this illustration is a lawful improvement. Hence, the mortgager has duty to pay rupees 1 lakh either immediately when the improvement has been made by the mortgagee or on a later date. He can pay the amount. But with interest he has to pay. That is, a mortgagor has to pay with interest. For the, as I was telling you about the section 63A, which is for the improvements to movable property, I gave you one illustration, and let me give you one more illustration for the improvements which is made by the mortgagee to immovable property but without giving notice to the mortgager. Here, the one more illustration is A mortgaged a compound house. A is a mortgager. He mortgaged his compound house to B for 10 years for rupees 10 lakhs to B. During the first 5 years of the mortgage, for the 10 years he mortgaged his whole compound house for the B, and during the first year of the mortgage there was an unprecedented rain. Unprecedented means here there was an unprecedented rainfall and destroyed the compound of mortgager. Here mortgagee informed the matter to the mortgager, and here mortgagee he informed this matter, that is unprecedented rainfall and which is where the compound has been destroyed. This has been informed to the mortgager. Here the mortgagee informed the matter to mortgager, and here the mortgagee reconstructed the compound by spending rupees 2 lakh. This illustration, this is called improvements which is made by the mortgagee. The mortgager has the liability to pay the amount to the mortgagee under this illustration. This contract becomes active under this illustration. But let me give you one more illustration. This illustration is an improvement which is made by the mortgagee, lawful improvement, and he has given the notice to the mortgager also. So the mortgager has to pay the cost which is incurred by the mortgagee under this illustration. Let me give you one more illustration. Under this illustration, there is That is, here under this illustration, X he mortgaged old building to Y for rupees 50 lakh for 25 years. X he mortgaged his old building to the Y for rupees 50 lakhs, that too for 25 years. When the mortgage was in the fifth year, the mortgagee he demolished the old house and constructed a new building by spending rupees 2 crores. That too, the mortgagee, without informing to the mortgager, he constructed the new building by spending the 2 crore of rupees. Here in this illustration, such a kind of constructions shall not be considered as improvement. This is not an improvement which is made by the mortgagee. Here the mortgagee has constructed a new building, that too by spending 2 crores. Here it is not considered as improvements, and the court shall condemn such spending and shall evict the mortgagee from the property immediately after the expire of the mortgaged period. From the property immediately or after the expiry of the mortgage period, the court is going to evict the mortgagee. This was held under this illustration. This is not an improvement which is made by the mortgagee here. And section 64 of the Transfer Property Act, which deals with the renewal of mortgage deed, renewal of the mortgaged lease. Here section 64, which deals with the where the mortgaged property is a lease and the mortgagee obtains a renewal of the lease. The mortgager under redemption shall, in the absence of contract to contrary, have the benefit of the new lease. Discuss section 65 of the Transfer of Property Act, which deals with the implied contract by the mortgager. Implied contracts by mortgager, that is, the mortgager and the mortgagee have the freedom to specify any terms and conditions. They may specify any duties. Then such duties shall be effective. But if the mortgager or the mortgagee, if they don't have any such specified duties, then section 65 specifies the implied contracts by the mortgager. Then the section 65 specifies the implied duties. Such duties are enforceable. Let us see which are the duties which are enforceable under section 65 of the Transfer Property Act. They are, the first one is these are the implied duties. First one is the covenant for title. Here, covenant for title, that is the mortgager must promise, that is the debtor, he must promise that he is the absolute owner of the property to the mortgagee. That is, the mortgager, when he is mortgaging his property to the mortgagee, at the time he has to promise that he is the absolute owner of the property and nobody else. And the mortgagee shall enjoy the immobile property peacefully without any disturbance. Here, the mortgager shall not disturb the mortgagee in the enjoyment of the property when he is mortgaging his property. Here, none of the mortgages means here, it may be a relatives or it may be friends, they should not disturb the mortgagee during the mortgage period. Friends nor relatives have any right to disturb the mortgagee. They should not disturb the mortgagee during the mortgage period. Here, mortgager must provide complete peace to the mortgagee. to use the property and enjoy the property. You should not disturb. That is either the mortgager or his friends or relatives should not disturb. This is the duty of the mortgager. That is, he has to provide a complete peace to the mortgagee to enjoy the property during the period. Here, that is a covenant for title. Like second implied duty is defense of title. This is the implied duty of the mortgager. That is the defense of title. Let us see what does the defense of title says here. Here, when the mortgagee is having the possession, when the mortgagee is having the possession of the property, the mortgager shall protect the interest of the mortgagee from litigation. If anybody files the litigation against the mortgagee, it has to be protected by the mortgager who mortgages the property, is a debtor. Here, mortgager shall keep an eye. Mortgager shall keep an eye on all the petitions filed against the property. He must appoint an advocate and defend the suit and protect the possession of the property. He has to defend his title. He has to protect. He has to keep an eye on all the petitions which is filed against the property. This is the defense of title. Next is public charges. This is also one of the implied duty of the mortgager. Public charges. It is mortgager, that is the debtor, is having the duty to pay the taxes from the property to the government. If the mortgager fails to pay the taxes or the public charges, then the mortgagee shall pay. If the mortgager fails to pay, then the mortgagee will pay. And the mortgagee is having the right to recover from the mortgager that amount. Next, implied duties, leaseholds. Here, where the mortgaged property is a leasehold, at the time, that is the mortgager must promise that he has paid all the rents and performed all the duties of a lease up to the time of the mortgage. This has to be promised by the mortgager to the mortgagee that he has paid all the dues, all the rents, and he has performed all the duties. Next is the clearance of prior mortgages. It is also one of the duty of the mortgager to clear the prior mortgages. That is, if the mortgager has made different mortgages earlier, he must clear all the mortgage money from time to time, so that the property remains a security for the present mortgagee. For the present mortgage, it remains a security. So that here, it is the duty of the mortgager to clear all the mortgage money which he has made earlier of the same property. This is one of the duty of the mortgager to clear the prior mortgages. It is, as I told you, under section 65, it is both the parties, either the mortgager or the mortgagee, they are having the freedom to make the conditions. But if they fail to make the conditions, then such duties shall be, that is, they may specify any duties, then such duties will be effective. But if they don't have any such specified duties, then section 65 implies the implied duties, specifies the implied duties, and such duties are enforceable by the court of law. It is all the duties of the mortgager, is all the duties, is all the implied contracts. Now, that is in the previous class I did the improvements to the immovable property as well as the implied contracts by the mortgage. That is, I completed the rights and duties of the mortgager. Next we shall go to the mortgagee. What are the rights and liabilities of the mortgagee? As the mortgager has the right and liabilities in the same way, that is, the mortgagee is also having the rights and liabilities, which are dealt under section 67 to 77 of the Act of the Transfer Property Act, which is with the rights and liabilities of mortgagee. Here, before that, please note down the questions under section that is which comes under rights and liabilities of the mortgagee. Take down the question. What is foreclosure? What is foreclosure? Question mark. Explain with illustrations. What is foreclosure? Explain with illustrations. Section 67 is important for sake of your exam. Please note down. And here, section 67, which deals with the right to foreclosure or sale. This is the right which the mortgagee is having. Now, from section 67 to 77 of the Transfer Property Act, we are going to study only the rights and liabilities of the mortgagee. Here, right to foreclosure or sale is a right of the mortgagee. Here, right to foreclosure. What do you mean by foreclosure here? Right to foreclosure is the right of the mortgagee. It is the right to file the suit before the court of law. It is called as a right to foreclosure. Right to file the suit before the court and to request the court to pass a decree by which mortgagor is to be debarred from redeeming the mortgaged property is called as right to foreclosure. Here, as we all know, that is have already discussed, mortgagor is having the right to redeem. Mortgagor is having the right to redeem. That is under section 60. I have already taught you that is section 60 what it is. It tells about the right to redemption. Right of redemption or right of mortgagor to redeem. That is section 60 which deals with it. You all know what is right to redeem then. Now, right to redeem is right to take back the mortgaged property. That is who is having the right to redeem? That is the mortgagor is having the right to redeem. Here under section 61, right to foreclosure, that is the right to foreclosure is the right of the mortgagee. Here right to foreclosure means it is the right to file the suit and to request the court to pass a judgment or decree by which the mortgagor is stopped from taking back the mortgage property. Or it is the right of the mortgagee to file the petition to the court to secure the order to sell off the property in satisfaction of the loan amount. These are the rights of the mortgagee. The one right is having the right to file the case before the court and request the court to pass an order from debarring the mortgagor to debar the mortgagor from redeeming the property. Or it is the right of the mortgagee to file the petition to the court to secure the order to sell the property in satisfaction of the loan amount. These are the two rights. Here under section 67 it says that when to exercise the right to foreclosure. Here this right is having with the mortgagee, that is the right to foreclosure, right to file a case against the mortgagor. When he can exercise this right to foreclosure? Here, that is when to exercise the right to foreclosure. Let us see one by one when the mortgagee can exercise the right to foreclosure in the circumstances. Here the first circumstances where the mortgagee can exercise the right to foreclosure is, that is after the expiry of the mortgage period. The first circumstances is after the expiry of the mortgage period, where the mortgagor has mortgaged for a certain period. After the expiry of that period, the mortgagee is having the right to foreclosure. Here, that is generally the mortgages are for a specified period. Mortgage period will definitely come to an end after the certain period, but only after the completion of the mortgage period, the right to foreclosure can be exercised by the mortgagee, but never during the mortgage period. Means this can be exercised by the mortgagee, but only after the mortgage period ends, but never during the mortgage period he cannot exercise the right to foreclosure. This is one of the circumstances where right to foreclosure can be exercised by the mortgagee. Next is the second circumstances where the mortgagee is having the right is the before the mortgagor can secure the decree for redemption. As the mortgagor is having the right to redeem the mortgaged property, that is before the mortgagor can secure the decree for redemption, before that the mortgagor gets the judgment from the order of the court for redemption, before that is the mortgagee is having the right to foreclosure. Here, after the completion of the mortgage period, the mortgagor may file the suit for right of redemption in the court of law. Then the court may order the eviction of the mortgagee. So then the mortgagee cannot file the right to foreclosure. So that before the mortgage period, before the mortgagor files the suit for the redemption, before that he has to, that is before that the mortgagee is having the right of foreclosure. Next, third one is the before the deposit of mortgage money by the mortgagor. Here, before the mortgagor he repays the loan amount, repays the mortgage money, before the depositing of the mortgage money, that is the mortgagee is having the right to foreclosure. And the next is before the payment of mortgage money to the mortgagee. That is when the mortgagee has to pay back the mortgage money to the mortgagee. Before the payment of the mortgage money to the mortgagee, at the time that is the mortgagee is having the right to foreclosure. These are the circumstances where the mortgagee is having the right to foreclosure or sale from the court of law, from getting the decree from the court of law under section 67. Section 69 of the Transfer of Property Act, which deals with the when the power of sale without intervention of the court is valid. Here that is the mortgagee is having the right to sell the property without intervention of the court under section 69. Please note down the question under section 69. Write a note on mortgagee's power of sale without intervention of the court. Without intervention of the court. Here, generally the mortgagee has a duty to come to court of law for selling the mortgage property. But section 69 is an exception to the general rule. Section 69 explains the power of the mortgagee to sell the mortgaged property even without filing the case before the court of law. Such a right can be exercised only under the following circumstances. That is, the first one is in the case of English mortgage. As we all know, there are different kinds of mortgages. Under the in case of English mortgage, where the mortgagee is having the right without filing the case, he can sell the property. Next is when the mortgagee is the government. That is when the mortgagee is the government in the sense that is the government has entered into a mortgage transaction with a private person. And the mortgage deed contains a clause that in case of failure to repay the mortgage money by the mortgagor, after the completion of the mortgage period also, the mortgagee is having the power to sell off the mortgage property directly without coming to the court of law. And the mortgagee is the government, then the mortgagee can sell off the property directly without coming to the court. This is also one of the circumstances where without intervention of the court, the mortgagee is having the right to sell off the property of the mortgagor. Next, and the third circumstances, that is mortgage in Bombay, Calcutta and Madras. That is where a power of sale without intervention of the court is expressly conferred on the mortgagee by the mortgage deed, and the mortgage property on the date of execution of the mortgage deed is situated within the towns of Calcutta, Madras and Bombay, or in any other towns or area which the state government may by notification in the official gazette specify in this behalf, then the power of sale without the intervention of the court can be exercised only in these towns, and not in the other towns. These are the circumstances where the mortgagee is having the right to sell off the mortgage property even without filing the case before the court of law. Next, section 69A of the Transfer of Property Act, which deals with the appointment of receiver. Here we have to know the meaning of who is called as a receiver first of all. Here receiver is a person to take care of the mortgaged property is called as a receiver. Receiver is a person who takes care of the mortgage property is called as a receiver, and here is there to conduct the sale of the mortgaged property on behalf of the mortgagee. Here mortgage deed contains the name of the receiver, or the receiver may be appointed by the mortgagor also, mortgagor or the mortgagee, or the receiver may be appointed by the court. Here receiver will keep an account of transaction and he has to conduct impartially. He has to conduct the sale of the immovable property. He may also receive 5% of the income of the property from the mortgagee. Called as a receiver. Receiver means is going to take care of the property on behalf of the mortgagee, is going to sell the property and he can take the interest. That is, he can receive the 5% of the income from the property. But here the mortgage deed, it must contain the name of the receiver. Next is section 101, which deals with the charges. Here we have to know what is charge. Here charge on an immovable property is created to secure the payment of money. Here charge does not amount to transfer of any interest. Here there is no transferring of any interest as in the case of mortgage. But charge is therefore created to secure the amount, recover some money is called as a charge. Here mortgage is wider when compared to a charge. In every mortgage there is a charge, but every charge is not a mortgage. Here there is no transferring of an interest, but in the mortgage there is a transferring of an interest in the immovable property to the mortgagee. Let us see the case law. That is Raja Shri Shiv Prasad versus Beni Madhav. In this case, that is the Patna High Court observed that there is a distinction between the mortgage and a charge. Let us see what is the distinction between the mortgage and a charge, which has been held by the Patna High Court. Here, whereas a charge only gives a right to a payment out of a particular fund or particular property without transferring that fund or property. But a mortgage is in essence a transfer of an interest in specific immovable property. Here there is a transferring of an interest in immovable property under the mortgage, but under the charge it only gives a right to payment out of a particular fund or particular property, but without transferring the interest to the person. It is called as a charge. That's what observed in this case. Here, charge may be created by act of parties or by operation of law also charge can be created. There are two kinds of charges. Charges created by act of parties and charges created by operation of law. Here, the charge created by act of parties is, here the two parties can enter into an agreement in writing. A charge by act of parties is constituted by an agreement between two or more persons. Under such agreement, some immovable property is specified as a security for repayment of a certain sum of money without transferring of an interest of that property. Is called as a charge created by the act of parties. There is an agreement between the two parties in writing. It has been constituted by two or more persons. Under such agreement, some immovable property is specified as a security for repayment of a certain sum of money, but there is no transferring of any interest of the property. In Chelmanna versus Subbamma case, it has been held that in this case, a inherited property from his maternal grandmother executed an agreement to pay his sister B a fixed sum of money. Fixed annual amount of money out of the rent arising from the property. So here A has created a charge on the property in favor of B, in favor of her sister. Here A has to fulfill that charge. That is the charges created by the act of party. It is by the parties. Next is the charge created by operation of law. Here there is charge which is created not by the act of party, it is by the operation of law. It is created without reference to any agreement by the parties or stipulation between the parties. The charge is said to be created by law. These are the two kinds of charges.